Hi, AJ Hartley here, novelist, Shakespeare professor, baby metal fan, and a few weeks ago I did a video of three baby metal inspired cocktails, and they seemed to get a good response. So I have done four new ones, and I'm taking into account things that people said last time about wanting some drinks that had non-alcoholic content. So I have two of those, one and then a third one which is a fairly light alcoholic content, and then one which will knock you on your ass. So and I'm laying these out as a kind of day in the life of a baby metal fan. The first two are morning drinks. The third is a coming home from work drink, and the fourth is we have nothing to worry about. It's nighttime kind of drink. All right, hope you like them. Ohayou gozaimasu. Okay, so it is morning, and we need to make it a Doki Doki morning. So let's get cracking. And to get that Doki Doki feeling, it means you've got to get your heart going. That's what the Doki Doki part is, the rhythm of your heart. You want to sort of jump start things and be ready to face the day with energy and alertness. I'm going to keep this real simple. As ever, ice. A number of different ways you could do this. As I say, I'm going to keep it fairly straightforward. I'm going to use a what do you call that? It's like a hot toddy mug, or an Irish coffee mug or something. It's glass, but you can put it in whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So what we're looking for is something that has that positive charge, that sort of that wake up energy, with a little spiciness to it, a little fun, and a little sweetness. Okay, so we have our ice, and now start with a shot of coffee. You could do this with a flavored coffee like hazelnut. That would work fine. Actually, that would be quite good. But I'm not doing it. Shot of coffee. Shot of chocolate milk. As with all things involving dairy products, make sure that it's decent. There's a lot of bad chocolate milk out there. You want something nice and rich and not synthetic. Some of those chocolate milks have that sort of chemical aftertaste. You don't want to do that. And a little milk. Don't have to add the milk, but the chocolate milk that I'm using is quite heavy and dark. So I'm going to lift it a little bit. This is supposed to be a little wake-up jolt. It's not supposed to be a meal. Now I'm going to add a tiny bit of, this is blue agave, but you could use whatever sweetener you want. Obviously we're mixing it cold, so a liquid sweetener is better than just sugar. So you can make a little sugar syrup, or you could use honey, but that's going to complicate the flavor a little bit. I like agave because it's very light, and I'm just putting a tiny bit in. That's plenty. But a baby metal cocktail needs to be more than just a sort of caramel mocha or something. It needs a little fun and a little edge, a little attitude. So we're going to put a splash of hot sauce in. Now, which hot sauce you use is going to depend on what you like. Tabasco works. But Tabasco is quite vinegar based, so that's going to have a sourness to it. This is only going to be a very light taste, so you're probably not going to notice it much. But I would avoid the vinegar. Something like this, which is a habanero sauce, which I really like, and it doesn't have as much of the vinegar, but it does have quite a bit of salt, and that might work, you know, as with a salted caramel or something like that. But it's up to you. I'm going to go with a sriracha just because I like the flavor and it's not overwhelming, and again, it has a little of that sweetness to it. How much? That much. Don't know. I like hot food. I mean, I like really, really spicy food. So, you know, use as much as you want. That wasn't very much at all. But, you know, I have a ghost pepper sauce that I make myself, but it's very thick. It's not going to blend that well. And whenever you get like a solid clump of it, that's going to really burn you. So, all right. Let's put a little ice in here. Just a little. Now you could cap this with a little whipped cream or something like that if you wanted. Give it a good brisk shake, especially if you're using something like the agave and the sriracha, because they're quite thick and heavy. The trick with cocktails is always to know what your cup holds. Woo! Yeah, that's good. All the flavors come through. Yeah, that's nice. That's a really good blend. Yes. Doki Doki Morning, here we come. Next stop, work. Excellent. So what we're looking for with Brand New Day is something optimistic and energizing, something with good flavor. Obviously, we're not looking for something alcoholic for this, but something that's going to wake you up and fill you with positivity, because that's what the song does. So in order to make this, I'm going to make a little green tea. I already boiled the kettle. I'm not going to make too much. The trick with green tea, of course, is that you don't want the water too hot, or the drink gets bitter. So we'll put that aside and let it chill while I get the rest of the ingredients sorted out. So the song emerges out of a sense of struggle and hardship, as is often the case with baby metal, but also with optimism, with a sense of looking forward and being ready to face the challenges and the opportunities that the new day brings. It is a brand new day, so that's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to make two. I think my son is around somewhere, so we're going to let him try this. So let's put some ice in the shaker to start with. Plenty of ice in the shaker because it's going to be making for two. I got two tallish glasses, and what I'm going to do first is decant the tea. Now I'm making double, so I'll put the little thing up with the measurements, but this is green tea. Still a tiny bit warm, so we'll let that sit in the shaker. And what I'm going to do now is put a little maraschino cherry juice, right? So the kind of cherries that you would use in a cocktail. And I'm just using some of the juice just to put a little in the bottom of each glass. Now you could use grenadine, which is a simpler sweetness, and it's slightly thicker, which in some ways is better for what I'm trying to do, because I want to get a sort of tequila sunrise kind of effect. This is a little thinner, so it won't do that quite as well, but I like that sort of the cherry character that it adds. But you can substitute grenadine, no problem. All right, so I'm going to put some ice in the glasses. So even though I'm shaking it with ice, this is going to be a long drink. So I want to keep it nice and cold, and I also want to give myself a little of the hardness of the ice to pour onto, so that some of that syrupy stuff stays at the bottom, so it won't simply mix, because I want to get a layered effect within the drink. All right, so now, what could be better for mornings? Orange juice. So we'll put one of these in. And again, I'm making this for 2 people, so it goes in there, 2 of those. And then a little grapefruit. Why grapefruit? Because the little sourness balances the citrus within the orange, gives us a nice sort of tanginess. And this is a baby metal cocktail, so it's got to have a little kick-ass quality. And there's nothing more kick-ass and sort of analogous to baby metal than Buffy the Vampire Slayer, obviously. And we all know that Buffy's drink is...
And the juice? 2 parts orange, 1 part grapefruit. That's my drink. I measured it exactly.
You didn't know that, did you? Well, you should. So here's a nice bit of that. All right, so the shaker's pretty full because I'm making it for 2. Sebastian, come check this out. Give it a good shake. There's lots of stuff. World Sebastian World. All of the 12 people who are going to watch this video. So ideally, we'll make this so that it doesn't simply blend. Kind of is doing, but I want some of that, some of the red, to stay at the bottom. Didn't do that very evenly, did I? See, I'm not used to making drinks for 2. That's okay. You take that one. So you see, it's got a little of the here. You take that. Oh, okay. A little of the red at the bottom because we want to get that sunrise effect. It's a morning drink. Cheers. Tell me what you think.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a tiny bit more grapefruit.
Give it a bit more tang. It's got the green tea in it, so you've got all that nice antioxidants.
Oh,
yeah, so it's like orange and grapefruit and green tea, plus the slight tang of the cherry and the right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right? Because it's a brand new day. All right, good. So, you've had a hard day. You've been out shopping for bargains maybe for the family, or you've been battling commuters on the train to and from work. So you've been out and you've been doing a good job, right? Hence the title of the song, GJ. And what you need to give yourself a little bit of a boost when you come home, something that you've earned, something to relax with and not completely knock you out, is the GJG&T. So, what we're going to do, we're going to keep this really, really simple. A gin and tonic is a classic drink, blending obviously the quinine in the tonic water, which has that sort of natural bitterness to it, with gin. And usually it's served with a slice of lemon, though there are variants. Now, I would say that gin is like whiskey, in that I do think it's one of those things where you kind of get what you pay for. It's not like vodka. And what's cool about gin is that it's basically a plain spirit which has been infused with botanicals, with herbs and other elements, right? The traditional elements within gin are particularly juniper berries, which gives it that sort of piney, aromatic woodiness, right? But you know, in the years since the craft brew revolution, in terms of home brewing of beer and microbrews of beer, you know, one of the areas of liquor that has really taken off is small batch botanical gins. And you can get all kinds of really interesting, cool gins on the market now. Now, gin is not a traditional Japanese drink, right? Japan produces some really excellent whiskey these days, but it's been a little slow to pick up the gin craze which has swept the West, and particularly, of course, the UK. But but it has started, and so what I want to use as the basis for this is Roku, which is a Suntory-made Japanese small batch gin. And it's distinctive because it's flavored with particular aromatics that we associate with Japan, in this case sakura, cherry blossom, which made with both the leaves and the flowers. It's also got yuzu peel, sencha tea and gyokuro tea as flavoring elements, and a little sancho pepper to give it a little sort of spiciness to it. So that's going to be our core ingredient. And we're just going to use a plain tonic water because I don't want to overpower the flavors of the gin. I love elderflower tonic waters and other flavored tonics, but they do best with fairly uninteresting gins. With really good gins, you don't want to sort of overpower the flavor. And the other thing that we're going to do is that instead of garnishing it with lemon, which can dominate the flavors of the gin because it's quite subtle, we're going to use a little slice of cucumber. So let's get this started. Now, actually, we don't need the shaker. So serve this over ice. Now, I've already chilled the tonic water. I did that on purpose because otherwise you have to kind of wait for the drink to cool down. And while you're waiting, the ice melts and it dilutes the flavors. So you don't want to do that because this, as I say, is a fairly light flavored drink. So I'm going to put 1 cap of the Roku in there. Make sure the tonic is fairly fresh. Now, obviously, you use as much as you want to use. I tend to go a little bit, not half and half, but about 1 measure of gin to 2 measures of tonic. No more than that, otherwise it gets, I can't taste the gin. And I want to be able to taste the gin because it's good gin. And my cucumber. It may seem a little surprising to use cucumber in a gin and tonic, but if you're a gin fan, you'll know that There are a lot of gins which actually have a lot of cucumber flavor to them, like Hendrick's, which is really good, and it's particularly good with a little cucumber in it. You can sit it on the side, you can cut a little slit in the side of the cucumber and sit it on the side if you want to look posh, but I want a little of the flavor in there. GJG&T. Oh, that's nice. Oh yeah. Now I'm ready to unwind, shake off the cares of the day, the stress of the day, and enjoy my day. Okay, it is evening. Before I get started, since people have talked about wanting non-alcoholic versions of these, you know, if you'd asked me a couple of years ago if I could make a non-alcoholic gin and tonic, I would have said absolutely no. But since then I've discovered things like this, Ritual, which is a gin alternative. You know, and it's not bad. I wouldn't drink it by itself or in something like a martini where because it doesn't taste of alcohol. What it has is that very sort of piney juniper kind of flavor, and it actually mixes as a cocktail ingredient pretty well, and it does work with tonic. So have a look for something like this. This is 0 proof. There's no alcohol in it at all, and this particular brand is called Ritual, though it's not the only one. Most of these drinks, I think you could make, you know, the non-alcoholic ones you could make alcoholic, and the alcoholic ones you could make to a certain extent non-alcoholically. If you wanted, for example, to do a version of the Brand New Day, which you were going to drink in the evening, or you wanted it to have alcohol in it, obviously I would reduce the amount of orange juice and grapefruit juice and use vodkas that are infused with those spirits. There are a lot of decent citrus vodkas made by a lot of different companies. There's a pink grapefruit made by Deep Eddy, which is really, really good. And it doesn't have a synthetic kind of flavor. It tastes like grapefruit. So those kind of things I think you can definitely substitute for the Brand New Day. And the Doki Doki Morning, you know, you could easily substitute Kahlua or some other coffee-infused kind of spirit in place of or in addition to, and you could maybe add a little Irish whiskey or something. So you're getting close to an Irish coffee. Okay, so what I want to do now is a drink that you cannot make non-alcoholically. This is a real, genuine nighttime drink, and it's inspired by the tropical ambience and flavors of Night Burn. This is a little bit more complicated than some of the other cocktails that I've made. And it requires, to get the right kind of flavors, it's going to require a little bit more prep. You could do this in a regular glass, but because the drink will get literally hot, I'm using a sort of fake pewter inside I don't know what this is, some sort of resin, but it has a nice BABYMETAL gothic kind of quality to it. So I like that idea. And what I would do is moisten the inside of it. Just splash a little water around in there so that it stays a little bit moist. And now I'm going to take some bits of wood Doesn't really matter what you use for something like this. What we're doing here is smoking the glass. And so it's good to use things like hickory or fruit woods, apple wood, or I have a pecan tree out at the back, and so it has that sort of nutty sweetness. I would avoid things like pine, which are going to give off a very papery kind of smoke. It's not going to have great flavor, and it creates a lot of ash, which you don't want. If you have a smoke detector, you might want to turn it off. Doesn't need to do much. You just want to get a little smoke. If you let a little air in at the bottom, it will continue to get that sort of smoky flavor. We just want to leave that, let it sit. Ice. Okay, now again, think about the song, right? Night Night Burn. It has all those Latin rhythms and that sort of the sort of piquant, the spicy quality of that sort of more it's sensual and energetic, but it has that sort of sultry quality to it, which is part of the reason that we're looking for that smoke. So what I'm going to use for this is I'll start with a little tequila, not too much. This is just to sort of stop it from getting too sweet. So I'm going to use like half of a shaker of that, half of a cap, I should say, sort of like an ounce. And then I'm going to use 2 ounces this is a big drink, maybe 1.5 ounces of vanilla vodka. And you can buy these. This is not actually what it says on the bottle. It says Svedka, which is, I think, Swedish. It's actually not. I infused this myself. It's really easy to do. You just get some vodka. You put a couple of like fresh vanilla pods that you can buy at a grocery store. You put them in there and let it marinate for, I think I did that for like 2 or 3 days. And then strain the vanilla pods out and put it in the fridge. But as you can see, this glass is not tinted. That's the color it goes, and it changes this color very quickly. Now, I will say, I'm a fan of vanilla. If vanilla gets a bad rap, people think of it as the sort of the flavor that's not really a flavor, like plain ice cream. Let us not forget that for hundreds of years, vanilla was one of the most expensive, most sought-after spices anywhere in Europe. And people went to the tropics and the Far East to find vanilla. And so it's a great flavor. It doesn't, when you infuse it yourself, one of the great things about infusing it yourself is that it doesn't get sweet, because all you're getting is the flavor of the vanilla itself, which has a sort of creamy, caramelly kind of flavor, and it's not loaded with sugar. Whereas when you buy anything, pre-made by some company, it's often sweeter than you want it to be, because they're targeting people who are looking to make candy drinks, which I am not. That said, I am going to candyfy this a little bit, because what could be more Latin and tropical than some coconut rum? So we're going to do 1 full measure of that. Now the coconut rum, this is Bacardi, and its alcohol content is slightly lower than regular rum. So I don't mind putting a little bit more in it. Okay. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. So that, yep, you can smell the smoke in it. As usual, there's a bit more liquid in this than usual, so you're looking to to chill the drink as well as blend it. That is pretty full. This is a very large drink. Okay, now, this is where things get a tiny bit tricky. We're going to top it with just a cap, literally, of, in this case, Everclear, though you could use an overproofed rum, like 150 proof or something like that. We want this to be able to burn. Night, burn. And I'm going to pour it over the back of a spoon so it doesn't quite dissolve into the mixture. And then we get our little... And that, let's kill the lights. How's that for a metal cocktail? Night burn, baby. Now, you don't want it to burn for too long. I'll put the light back on. The rest of the drink will not burn. All you're burning right now is the Everclear or the overproofed rum. And what you want is it's going to get quite hot, so you want to let it cool off. Blow it out. You serve it burning because it's cool. And the heat caramelizes some of the sugars that are naturally present in the drink, right? So particularly the coconut rum. And you can smell it. Make sure that the thing isn't too hot. Yeah, that's actually nice. When the drink stays cold, that's a, yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So you still taste some of the smoky quality that we put in there before, and you taste the slight caramelization of the sugars from the Everclear. Let's just make sure that that has burned off completely. Not quite. So you can continue to let it burn. You see that? The Everclear generates this nice blue flame, which I think is cool. You can't really see it on the video. And that is my evening drink. The flame will naturally go out if you let it. The Everclear, because it's so strong, it has such a high alcohol content, the flavor is nothing special. I would not recommend drinking it by itself. But in a situation like this, effectively as a garnish, so as you can see, it will stay ablaze, even though I only put a tiny, tiny drop in, and none of the other spirits are strong enough to really burn, right? So what you've got is just enough that you've got the Everclear floating on the top, enough to give it that blue flame. But I'm ready to drink it now, so I'm going to blow it out. But it will burn, depending on how much you put in. And obviously you saw I didn't put in very much, but it will burn for several minutes until you can't wait any longer. Again, make sure that the rim is not too hot before you drink. You don't want to burn yourself. And you can serve it in glass, but I would make sure that you're using a fairly heavy cocktail glass with a good solid rim. If you put it in something very, very delicate, then the contrast between the iced drink and the very high temperature at the top might crack your glass, and you don't want that. Yeah. And as soon as you blow it out, it cools very, very quickly. That's nice. I'm assuming that's all. And that's it. As ever, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm always looking for new ideas for material, and I hope you find these entertaining. Check out my Patreon page. Thanks as ever to my current patrons. Check out one of my books, the most recent of which is, as you know, Burning Shakespeare. And that's it. I'm going to be traveling, and by the time I put this up, I will be traveling. So I may be a little slow to respond to comments and queries and things, but I will get to them eventually. All right. Have a good summer. Cheers.